Well, hello and welcome to the Informed Traveler Podcast, a weekly travel podcast where our goal is to help you become a more informed traveler. I'm your host, Randy Sharman. Travel expert Onanta Forbes has been in the Canary Islands for the past couple of weeks, so we'll get some insight from her on what it's like to do a long stay there, escape the winter, and blend in with the locals. And then we'll chat with the founder and CEO of Tenon Tours, a company that specializes in personalized tours through Europe and in particular Ireland. So we'll get some tips on planning a trip to Ireland later in the show. But first, let's kick things off chatting with travel expert Onanta Forbes, who joins us each week to discuss some of the travel news and travel trends. You can follow her adventures on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Onanta Forbes. OnantaForbes.com is her website. And this week we find Onanta in the Canary Islands. So hello, Onanta.
Hi, Randy. Hola.
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 Is that like the main greeting in the Canary Islands? I don't think so. I think a lot of people speak English in the Canary Islands, don't they?
Absolutely. You should see the number of Brits that are here. Oh, my word. You would think it was Little Britain. I went on a tour the other day, and they were saying that Irish people are the top tourists here. But everybody I've met so far in our complex is from Manchester. So all I want to do is talk to them about Coronation Street, which is kind of sad, but
I thought you were going to talk about soccer, like Man U, but no, I guess not.
Well, speaking of football, yes. So in the various bars and lounges throughout the island, they actually post the football games and there is a number of people that make it an event to go watch their team. So it's huge draw for bars and restaurants here. And it's funny because this is our snowboard adventure for escaping winter of Canada and Calgary. Mm-hmm. And, not long ago, the term snowbird meant one thing, retirement. You work all year, you escape the cold for a few months, put life on pause. But today that idea has completely changed because it's not just taking about a break from life, because with technology, you get to work if you wish. And people are working later in their life. Mm-hmm. They're logging in from beach towns, desert cities, RV parks. So I think the goal isn't to feel like you're on vacation when you're a snowboard anymore. Maybe if you're lucky and you don't want to, that could be your direction, but it's to live like a local, and you almost have to think like that. Before you leave, because you're not there as a tourist. Yes, you're going to explore the destination, but you don't have to be a mad tourist and do it in the first week, right? Because you have more time to do it. Mm-hmm. And so before you leave, you need to simplify your life back home. So go digital wherever possible. Set up online banking, electric bill pay, mail forwarding, and somebody to check on your home. And next I would do is research your destination the way you would if you were moving there. So check internet speeds, public transportation, healthcare options, grocery stores, and neighborhood markets. And those everyday details will matter far more than the tourist attractions when you're living somewhere for weeks and months. And so we are in probably 10 days in the Canary Islands. So that's our first week, was just trying to figure out what grocery store to go to, because you don't want to go to a grocery store that the tourist goes to. You want to go to one that the residents go to, because then if you go to places that tourists go, the prices are going to be higher. So you have to consider that. Mm-hmm. And to find that out, you have to talk to people, talk to locals, talk to other snowbirds that are here. And then the other thing, which is a big piece, is housing. So instead of hotels, you're going to be looking for month-to-month rentals or longer-term Airbnbs, maybe even house sitting opportunities or home exchange, because longer stays often mean better rates and a better sense of community, because you don't want to isolate yourself either. And then, when you're booking your travel, flexibility helps. One-way or changeable flights give you freedom, and traveling during shoulder season can save you money while avoiding crowds, because that's what a lot of people, when they go to Europe, And a lot of tour companies that offer Europe say, offer like Q1 to come to Europe
Hmm.
as a lower or quieter time to come here. You can avoid the crowds. We chose the Canary Islands because it's supposed to be the warmest destination in Europe. Um, it's been one of the coldest winters here that the locals are telling me. But then it's a sense of what do you bring when you travel, right? Because you
Hmm.
think it's going to be warm, but potentially it could not be. And you don't want to spend your good or hard earned money buying things when you're here, like clothes, but sometimes you have to. Another thing that we had to really prepare for and investigate was health prep. So I had to refill some of my prescriptions for the time I was away, understand how local healthcare works and where would I go if I needed care. So lots of things to keep in mind. And um, as I had mentioned to you, I still work while I'm away remotely. And so what I've had to do is adjust my time zones responsibilities with that of home. So
Hmm.
um, we're 7 hours ahead of Calgary. So technically my workday is starting. But the thing I had to really look at was where we rented, what was the Wi-Fi like? Because on the ship, the Wi-Fi wasn't always amazing. And then think about what your mobile office looks like. So I have a great lightweight laptop, good battery life. Um, I have a long extension cord because sometimes you just need that long extension cord because the plugins aren't always where you need them to be. And then you just have to think about, when is playtime and when is work time. Um, but that's okay. You can sort that out pretty quick depending on your clientele and your time zone necessity. But the first thing we did when we were here, we just explored the neighborhood. We walk as much as possible. We're trying to figure out public transit. And then, like we said, we kind of find our everyday spots early, like grocery stores or fresh markets or pharmacies. We found a dollar store that kind of comes in handy. It does too, because somebody set up in their rental may not be what you need, right? So sometimes you just have to figure out what makes you comfortable in that place because you don't want to be, because this is your home, right? So you just want to let go of that tourist mindset and set up your home that you can enjoy it. And then, I don't know if you've ever been on holiday or away, but you end up kind of wearing the same thing over and over because it's just
Yes.
comfortable. And that's what you do. Like you kind of, pick your comfortable clothes, your casual clothes, and helps you blend in. Don't wear a lot of jewelry still, even like this is a very tourist destination and and it's very, very safe, but you don't need to wear tons of jewelry.
Hmm.
We're learning basic, phrases in the local language. I think those little efforts go a long way in building connections. And what we're doing is we're creating a routine, like work hours, walks, um, catching the bus to go somewhere, finding out where the locals go to grocery shops. So we went to Lidl the other day, Lidl, got groceries, which is a lot less expensive and more variety than the Hippo Express that's across the street, even though it's convenient.
Hmm.
And and then we just talk to people, like, find out where they go for like entertainment and such. We're trying to eat where the locals eat. We talk to taxi drivers. One thing of note, there's no Uber in the Canary Islands.
Oh.
Yeah, so you have to think about that. But yeah, so it's been quite interesting. So since we've been here, um, as I say, I took a tour and it gave me kind of a lay of the land of the southern portion of the island. There's not very far as the capital city, Recife, um, that we can go to if we wish. We went to a Sunday market last week called the Tegese market. It
Hmm.
is huge. It is wild. It is so many people. It was amazing. But again, markets, in my experience in the past, you can get some nice produce or maybe pick up something like a ready to eat meal that you can just um, heat up when
Hmm.
you are, you don't have to cook every night, but you don't want to also go out every night for a meal, right?
Hmm. It gets
Um,
very expensive then.
very expensive. And we are dealing with the euro. And I think it's almost like the exchange rate is 1.6. So, money matters. Like, yes, you're not in a resort. Um, so that's an additional expense, but you still are, you still have to budget accordingly and you still have to, I would recommend you see what you are, how you spend
Hmm.
accordingly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I have a number of questions, as you can
Please.
probably tell, because first of all, I know nothing about the Canary Islands, but when you were mentioning just getting there, and I think you said you had a one-way ticket, did you not?
Yes, I
Like,
did
okay,
because we
yeah, because you're not
started
sure how long you're going to stay there.
right, right, and we didn't know, and we started with the cruise. So,
Yeah.
a
So my question
typical yes,
is did you run into immigration problems or anything like that because or did you need a visa? Because a lot of places, and I'll use the United States for example, they want to know if you have a return ticket. I used to run into this problem all the time on the cruise ships because I was
yeah,
working and I had a one-way ticket, and they would
right,
always take me aside saying, why do you have a one-way ticket? When are you getting out
right.
of our country? So I'm curious, did you need a visa? Did you have issues with immigration, or did you have to have any sort of paperwork done?
The only time we needed visas was when we were on the ship and we are going through different places in Africa. But coming to Europe, we didn't go through the UK, so we didn't need a UK ETA. But if you are going through, and good thing that you brought that up because they are getting very strict. It's
Hmm.
not a transitionary period anymore. You have to have that UK ETA if you're transiting or visiting it. Um, and as far as transiting through Europe to get to the Canary Islands, we went through Zurich, and we did notice that they have that new. It's called EES system where it's getting electronic. It's biometric now to get through, but
Hmm.
it wasn't an issue to do it.
Okay.
So actually, nobody asked me if I had a return ticket. Um, because I don't know whether it's because we were coming off a ship and we were going to different places, like to get to here. It was all pretty
Yeah.
straightforward. The Canary Islands it's actually off the coast of Northwest Africa, and it is part of Spain, but it's an autonomous community, and it's quite beautiful. Like it has year round like spring like weather or climate. And
Hmm.
that's why I think a lot of people in Europe, um, UK and Irish people are number one. It used to be Germans because they always seek the sun, but people like to come here for the UK or Northern European winter. There's 8 islands here: Tenerife, Gran Canaria, Lanzarote, and another 5 that offer a mix of tourism. But the 3 I mentioned are probably the most that are inhabited. And here you can just sit back and relax and enjoy the ocean, or you could go hiking. On the island we are, Lanzarote, there's a great volcanic or volcano park that's very interesting. It can be very busy. Tenerife is the largest island, and it's probably the most touristic inclined island.
Hmm.
And then Gran Canaria is known for its landscapes, like the diverse landscapes that it has, including beaches and mountains and cities. And here, it is the volcano park, the landscapes. Everything is like you learn about the volcano soil, for the lack of a better term for it, and how it grows and how it will showcase or feature wineries. Are called bodegas. Uh, yes, I'm saying that wrong. And the art and the architecture of Cesar Manrique. So it's lots to learn while you're here. Um, the culture is lovely because it is Spanish, and it has different island influences. But you do hear, people saying here, because of the high volume of tourism on the local infrastructure, sometimes that can create a little bit of clashing. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's about the tourists coming, because tourism is one of major, um, their major revenue, a
Mm-hmm.
source for the
Mm-hmm.
locals. But
Mm-hmm.
it's about, people who rent out their place or rent out their apartment that used to go to a local, and now they're renting it out for a higher price to a
A
snowbird
long
or
stay
a
snowbird.
visit. Yes, absolutely. And then the government hasn't kind of replaced that with other housing for the locals, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
why I think there can be a very negative aspect or thought about who we are as far as visitors into the islands. But I
Mm-hmm.
haven't encountered anything like that here. I've been whoever I encounter is very gracious, very liking to our visits. And I try really hard to speak some, not good Spanish to engage, because that's what you do when you go somewhere else. You don't want everything to be the same as home, right? That's why you leave home.
True. Exactly.
Yes.
Now, you also mentioned using your computer and thing. What about the power outlets? I'm assuming it's direct current versus our AC current, and you need converters.
Absolutely. It's a great point. Actually, I was reminded by my partner to say something about that, because yes, one of the things you do have to pack is a converter or a currency adapter, because
Mm-hmm.
yes, you do need it, because the plugins are not the same as home. And even on the ship, there was only 110 voltage. The rest were all European plugins too. So you have to keep that in mind too, even though the ships go all over the world, right? Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Well, I've learned a lot. So,
It, yeah, it is good. It's a good, if you have the opportunity, the resources and the time to do a long stay. It is, it's something different to do. It's, something you work long in your life, right? You might as well take advantage of the world as it is right now, because you never know when that will change.
well, that's true too. And of course, it depends on the job and everything like that. But technology
Mhm.
certainly makes it a lot easier than it was, say, 20 years ago to work remotely and become a snowbird, even though you're not retired. So, good on you.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we're very lucky. We're very grateful for the opportunity. So, yeah, it's nice. One of the things, our rental looks out the ocean,
Hmm.
and every day you can see pretty much a cruise ship arrive on this island. Today's there's three of them in, but like some of the ships, and that's why I think sometimes the locals can get mad. One ship can be over 6,000 clients.
Yeah,
So
you
can you
talk
imagine
about
three
getting busy.
ships?
That's when it gets busy.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Onanta
But
Forbes is a travel expert. You can follow her on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Onanta Forbes. OnantaForbes.com is her website. Well, enjoy your time in the Canary Islands. Appreciate your input.
thank you.
This is the Informed Traveler Podcast. I'm Randy Sharman. Just want to remind you of our website, theinformedtraveler.org. That's where you can find our contact page if you have any questions or comments about the podcast. You can also email me, too, with any questions you might have. My email address is randy at theinformedtraveler.org. And check out our social media pages, too, at facebook.com/informedtraveler, Instagram at informedtraveler, or on X at informedtraveler. That's where you'll find a number of videos and reels from our adventures throughout the year and audio clips from our past shows. Plus, you can sign up for our monthly newsletter. It's released at the beginning of every month. Our January issue is now available. Just go to our website, theinformedtraveler.org, click on the newsletter button, and it'll take you right there. Or better yet, you can subscribe to it and have it arrive in your inbox each month. Well, if Ireland is on your list of travel destinations in the near future, one company that can help you plan a personalized itinerary of Ireland is Tenon Tours. So, joining us now to share some ideas and tips traveling through Ireland is Brian Lewis. He is the founder and CEO of Tenon Tours. TenonTours.com is the website. Hi, Brian.
Hey, Randy, how you doing?
I'm well, thank you. I'm excited to learn all about Tenon Tours. Tell me how it came about.
Tenon was born from the idea that I was sick of seeing tour companies offer the same thing over and over, and most companies offer a totally independent trip where you rent a car and you go to B&Bs, or you jump on a bus and you have a very rigid itinerary. So back in 2008. When I left my previous position with a student travel company, I set out to do something different. And that culminated into a plan to do unique trips across Ireland to start with. And it was a very biased approach. I wanted to offer trips the way that I wanted to travel. And so through some thought and some probably a few drinks and a few beers with a friend of mine who was doing Ireland at the time, we came up with this great plan to do Ireland different. And that was 18 years ago now.
And here you are today. And Ireland's kind of your specialty still, right? It's your baby, even though you do many different destinations around Europe and such, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Ireland is still, as you said, kind of our baby. We started in Ireland, we expanded to the UK and eventually to Italy and Iceland. And then as the story goes on, during COVID, we expanded throughout Europe and we're on to our 18th destination now. But it all goes back to Ireland, and for good reason, because Ireland was the natural fit for a company like ours, where we wanted to have easy access for those the folks, especially from the East Coast. We wanted a destination that was English speaking, that was deemed safe, accessible, and Ireland is always one of the most hospitable countries in the world. So it was a natural fit for us to launch Ireland first.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you said that. I was going to ask you what makes Ireland special to you and still your specialty. And if I'm planning a tour to Ireland, for instance, and I have nowhere, I have no idea how to begin that process. Like, how would you help me out?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it's funny. When we first started, we wanted to do something so different that we didn't almost. We steered people away from the major tourist sites. Anything that I deemed to be, herding cattle, I said that's not the true traveler experience. We didn't want to do a typical tourist experience. We wanted to be a traveler, right? Mm-hmm. And so when we started, it was the cities and towns of Dublin, Galway, Killarney, Kilkenny, Cork, the cities and towns that you've heard of. And the unique approach to this was we wanted to bring you from town to town in point-to-point transportation, put you in city center hotels, and then offer a selection of tours, attractions, and experiences on your own time, instead of dictating what you were going to do on your tour. We wanted you to choose. And by having city center locations, you didn't need transportation once you're in the city. So that was kind of how we started. And as we evolved and evolved past the city center hotels and into the countryside, the 4 and 5 star estates, some of the unique B&Bs, and that it really opened up the country to us, where we started going up to the northwest region in County Donegal, County Sligo, up into Northern Ireland. And even when you go to the major tourist towns, we wanted to try to offer something a little bit more unique. 18 years later, everything is so personalized to what the traveler wants. We have people, staying in the countryside doing cooking classes. We have, folks working with genealogists and, researching their roots. We have people staying at 5-star castles doing falconry. I want to say playing with falcons, but
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're doing, and doing some really cool experiences. So in
Mm-hmm.
terms of where people want to go, Ireland is the size of the state of Maine, which sounds really small, but
Mm-hmm.
when you slow down and you want to take it all in, it's not as small as you think. So we try to encourage people to really slow down and experience each of the regions outside of what you would typically think is just the tourist places.
Mm-hmm.
Now that said, I will absolutely go against my original approach and say those touristy places do exist for a reason, and they are incredible. So I kind of eat my words a little bit, Randy.
Well, and when you say it's custom designed tours, I guess it depends on what your clients are looking for as well, right?
That's right. Everybody wants something a little bit different, and that was the entire the basis of what we're doing now in these tailor-made trips. Is that I don't think anybody deserves, when you're spending that kind of money on an international trip, to do what the tour operator says you should do all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Of course,
Mm-hmm.
as the experts and as the tour operator, you have the inside knowledge to tell them probably the best way to spend their time. But when you have a rigid itinerary and something, a day planned where you might hit 3 or 4 spots to check off these boxes, you might not want to actually go to all 3 or 4 spots, but the itinerary dictates your time. So I think to kind of turn that around and listen to people and say, what do you want to do? What does your travel mates want to do? If you're traveling as a family, everybody's going to want to do something different, and we're going to be able to schedule that in and to really create an experience that for each person that resonates with them, that they want.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting. You mentioned about the different types of accommodations over the last 18 years, and you brought up Airbnb. But I think does that probably helps in doing customized tours, because there were so many more options out there now, right? Or maybe they were, just people didn't know about them.
Yeah, I guess it was a different network, right? So like B&Bs always. They existed in Ireland. They were kind of the go-to, very authentic stays, and there was a network of B&Bs. With the launch of and the introduction of Airbnb and Vrbo and these things, there's access to so many different properties. So you're exactly right that it kind of opened up a whole segment that people didn't have access to before. And some of it made it harder for us. Some of it made it easier, right? It's because, there are independent booking sites that we don't typically use. We can't vet those properties personally. Whereas, a lot of the other accommodations, we send staff and we really make sure that they meet our standards, which then in turn meet our traveler standards. But yeah, it was a change when these platforms came on board. It changed everything.
Oh, I bet, and it still has. So how does it work now? If I'm interested in a customized tour of Ireland, and like I go on your website, obviously, contact you, and that starts the whole process, right?
Yeah, we when you go to our website, and there's general information. We post a lot of itineraries for inspiration, but nothing's ever a set itinerary. So we direct you to a form that you complete based on what you're looking for. Are you looking for, how many nights are you looking to travel? How many people are in your party? What type of accommodations? Again, you can select 3-star, 4-star, 5-star manor homes, castles, B&Bs. In other countries, you can unique properties like igloos, glass bubbles, all these things now, right?
Yeah.
And then what's your pace of travel? And that's one of the most important things that we really hone in on is to slow you down. You can't cover all of Ireland in 10 days. We want to make sure that you're seeing probably 3 or 4 places in 10 days. And then you submit that form. It goes to one of our travel designers, and they review it. They schedule a call with you, usually 30 to 45 minutes as a initial consult, and really dig deep into how you like to travel and what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And then we design it from the ground up. No 2 itineraries are the same. So it's a very personalized process. and one that our travel designers put a lot of heart into. And because they have such great experience in Ireland and all the countries, and they all each have their own destination specialty. They'll craft an itinerary, and when you're ready to just confirm it, we'll still fine tune it. There's changes that always happen, as you know, with travel. There's always little hiccups and things that come about. Sally can't go, but Sammy can, and so there's an extra person, so we tweak it and fine tune it until we get it right.
And well, you mentioned 10 days isn't enough to cover a whole country, and that's what I was getting at the beginning. It's as small as Ireland is compared to other countries. There is so much to see, so you really do have to fine tune it down into just your general tastes and likes, and how far you really want to branch out, and how much travel you actually want to do.
That's what it comes down to: is how much time do you really want to spend in a car or on a train? Mm-hmm. We don't use buses, but we're actually working on a trip for my wife and daughter right now. She has a graduation trip. They're going to France, Germany, and Switzerland and Belgium. And originally they look and they say, well, none of it's too far from each other. Let's just do it all. And then over time we go, no, you only have, in this case, 9 nights. Let's slow it down. Or you're going to be on trains half of your trip. In Ireland, You're going to be in a car. And, so it's just how you want to spend your time. We try to discourage too much windshield time, as we say, mm-hmm. and really get you where you're going and to experience that authentic, cultural trip that you're looking for.
And how often do you get, Ireland, they drive on the opposite side? That would really bother me. So how often do you get the question of, I don't really want to drive, is there another way to get around other than trains? I mean, just within the city or just getting around that way.
Yeah, when you're in the city, if you're staying in city center, I mean, Ireland, even Dublin as the biggest city, is a very walkable city, right? But getting around Ireland, if you don't want to drive on the other side of the car, on the other side of the road, which I feel you do get used to pretty quickly, depending on if you've done it before, I suppose. Most people opt to get a private driver.
Now you're talking.
Yeah, no. This is most people automatically assume it's going to be too expensive. But when you consider that their time is your time, they know where they're going, you're going to save the amount of time you're going to save the stress, right?
I was just going to say, I would save the stress a lot.
Yeah, it's going to be much less stressful. You're going to save time by not questioning where you're going and looking at maps. They just know where they're going. They can stop at will. They know, they're very knowledgeable, and if you want to have a pint, you can have a pint during the day. Ireland has a zero tolerance policy, so you can have the best time of your life when somebody else is driving. Not
Very
that
true.
Equals each other, but yeah. So private driver is really the way to go. If it obviously is a little bit more expensive, mm-hmm. But it's very common for people now to justify the cost based on the value, right, and what they're getting, and to recognize what they're saving in terms of that stress and time and knowledge. And that's what we do best as well. It's just you're paying for time and expertise and less stress.
I've never been to Ireland, so give me some general tips for a first timer or something like that.
Tips for Ireland, I think, beyond so the first thing that I always recommend is never underestimate your jet lag when you fly overnight. And sometimes you're getting in at 4 or 5 in the morning and your hotel isn't ready until 3 p.m. So there's 2 things. One is never underestimate your jet lag. And as a result, or as to be proactive, we always suggest that you book the night before your arrival, so your room is ready on arrival to the hotel. There's so many times, I can't tell you, Randy, that we arrive and I don't follow my own advice. And I just did this in June. I arrived at 9 a.m. and thinking that my room should be ready before check-in time.
Oh yeah.
And I sit in that lobby for 5 hours and you're tired, you're exhausted. So we always say book the night before and sleep. I'm not one, and this is maybe unpopular opinion, one to just power through the first day. I'm sure you've heard a lot of people say to get over that jet lag, you just got to stay up. You got to power through all the way through that first night. Not for me. I want to check in. I want to grab a couple hours sleep because if you land at 6 a.m., it's only 1 a.m. back home on the East Coast anyway. So to grab those few hours of sleep is essential. Beyond that, I think, now in Europe, all across Europe, it's fairly cashless. So one thing, if you have a private transfer from the airport, even to have a few euros on you upon arrival, just to tip that first driver. Yeah. And then from there, everything's pretty cashless. If you do get cash, always make sure it's from a bank ATM, not a street ATM that charges you the 10% fee. Try to me, beyond like the little tips, the more logistical things, the bigger tips I'd say is I always say try everything. My personal motto is go everywhere, see everything, and meet everyone. So, the Irish they're hospitable, they're friendly. There's a true culture in Ireland that's so well preserved that I don't find it in any other country, right? So you look at Scotland, you have bagpipes and kilts and haggis, but in Ireland, the music, the dance, the pubs, the conversations, the food, all of that is so well preserved, and it hasn't changed over time at all. So you to really put yourself in again, go beyond being a tourist and go to the local pubs, talk to the people, have those side conversations that sometimes lead to the best experiences, whether it's a lock-in. I've been in a pub and playing, it's just kind of funny, playing Scrabble in the corner, and all of a sudden the bartender locks the doors, closes the blinds. We're like, oh, it's a closing time? He's like, and we stayed there till 4 a.m. playing Scrabble and having pints with the bar owner, because that's just what they do. And it was like one of those nights that you just didn't expect.
Yeah.
So, other than that, I think it's just, it's to really, I'll always say, slow down, take it in. Don't try to do everything, too quickly. And
is there a best time to go?
The shoulder seasons, we always recommend April, May, and then late September and even into October are probably the best times to go to avoid the crowds. And what's becoming a problem is heat. So while everybody has July and August off, and it's technically the lowest travel season, it's warming up quickly over there, and AC is a luxury. So you'll only see in the 4 and 5 star hotels that you have AC. So it's a common complaint that it's too hot in July and August.
Nice. Well, if people want more information, they can go on your website, tenontours.com. Brian Lewis is the CEO and founder of Tenon Tours. Appreciate your insight, Brian. Any final thoughts or anything like that? Anything you want to add?
The only thing I'd add, Randy, is we had talked before about just the rise in ancestral travel, and that's one of the things that I just wanted to highlight, and especially in Ireland with such a large percentage of Irish roots here in North America. There's a lot of people who are traveling to Ireland and beyond, Italy, to discover their roots, to research some genealogy, and Ireland's great for that because we have there's a national directory. National Archives in Dublin, and there's genealogists scattered around the country, historians. We've had travelers find relatives in cemeteries that they've gone to, and just by asking around, they found their great-grandfather's home because they talked to somebody in town who led them that way. So I think one of the things that's really appealing about Ireland is that genealogy aspect of things. And of course, you go back to the Titanic, and that's a whole other conversation, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. What should be number one on my list? Planning a tour to Ireland. That would be the first thing I'd want to see. So. Yeah,
so that's all I have as far as the the reasons to go, I think once you do go, you'll keep coming back, because that small country that's the size of the state of Maine is undiscovered in many areas. And I think if people have the desire to keep exploring, well, Ireland's a place to keep going back.
Mm-hmm. Brian Lewis is the CEO and founder of Tenon Tours. TenonTours.com is the website. I appreciate your time, Brian. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Randy. I appreciate it. This was fun.
And that is our show for this week. If you have comments or questions, we'd love to hear from you. If you have a show idea, send that along as well. My email is randy@theinformedtraveler.org. And if you like what you heard, tell a friend. You can check out our website too at theinformedtraveler.org. In the meantime, thanks for listening, travel safe, and be an informed traveler.